They didn't tell us what really caused the CrowdStrike outage. Are there forces more evil than Bill Gates and Microsoft? Let's have a look. The media blamed the big IT outage on Microsoft. Everyone was cool with that. Everyone loves to hate Microsoft, even the media. We get that. We really do. We've made a little meme about how Bill Gates is a force for evil in the world. And yes, one of the most tragic things to happen to humanity in the last 100 years was when IBM gave a little company called Microsoft control of the PC operating system. But if we want to be rational, we would have to admit that last week's big IT outage was the fault of neither Microsoft nor CrowdStrike. So what did cause it? We know and we have the proof. The real cause of the big Microsoft failure was government overregulation, but not just any overregulation, a new kind of overregulation, global world government regulation, by the EU bureaucrats in Brussels. For years, the EU and the UK have been creating a vast mountain of laws that they now use to control American tech companies. European nations are unable to create their own advanced technology, so they regulate American technology companies to turn them into a revenue source for Europe. But how can that be, you may ask? How can foreign governments regulate American businesses? It's called the Brussels effect, or on a national level in the US, it's called the Sacramento effect or the California effect. We wrote about it and how the leftists in the California state government control all the cars in America in The War on Carbon is a War on Cars and You. The Brussels effect works because of globalism. In the 21st century, American companies cannot afford to be left out of the European market, and they will be left out if they refuse to accede to European regulations. So EU regulators can use those regulations, among other things, to extort billions from American companies as fines, a revenue source for European nations. For example, the EU is using the Brussels effect to control and extort billions from the social media company X. If the EU's findings are confirmed, the company faces fines of up to 6% of its total worldwide turnover. In 2021, the last full year that Twitter published its revenues, the company earned over $5 billion. So because of something to do with blue check marks, the EU government crooks can grab 6% of X's global revenue? Cha-ching. There is a more precise name for what the EU and other foreigners are doing, besides extortion: indirect expropriation, regulatory taking. Indirect expropriation occurs when a state takes effective control of, or otherwise interferes with the use, enjoyment, or benefit of an investment, strongly depreciating its economic value, even without a direct taking of property. But there is no commonly accepted definition of indirect expropriation. Ascertaining whether it has occurred will depend on the facts and on the treaty language, and on how both are interpreted by the dispute settlement body. Another example of the effects of EU control of American tech is the Windows CrowdStrike outage of last week. It was caused by the EU forcing Microsoft to accept an agreement that gave Brussels bureaucrats control over internal workings of the Windows operating system. Here is how the British newspaper The Telegraph explained it. Microsoft agreed in 2009 to allow multiple security providers to install software at the kernel level amid a European competition investigation. In contrast, Apple blocked access to the kernel on its Mac computers in 2020, which it said would improve security and reliability. A Microsoft spokesman told the Wall Street Journal that it was unable to make a similar change because of the EU agreement. Unquote. EU bureaucrats use their control to extort money from American tech and to control mergers and innovation. And almost none of the American people have any idea that this is going on. American innovators will create AI, but EU bureaucrats will control it. Overregulation, the whole horrific phenomenon, is one of the most destructive forces at work against Americans today. It costs hundreds of billions of dollars a year. It blocks people from doing what they should and could do. The creation of hundreds of thousands of laws and crimes, mostly by the deep administrative state, is what gives the government the powers of lawfare and selective prosecution. And yet most Americans don't even understand that overregulation exists, let alone how big and bad it is. Why? because the mass media refuses to report on it. And it's the same thing for other societal problems. When government causes problems, the mass media fails to report the real cause, and instead claims that more government is the only fix for the problem that government overregulation caused. We, the right, could fix that, and we need to. If you doubt that overregulation is real and is a really huge problem, please have a look at our book, Overregulated. It's for sale on Amazon. But you can read it for free as a PDF or online at our website, rightfulfreedom.com.
Thank you for your interest in Rightful Freedom. Please help us grow by liking and subscribing and commenting. We would love your feedback, and see more content at our website, rightfulfreedom.com.